It's time for Planet Green.
We have launched.
We've completely launched. We've started the show, and it is Planet Green Trees. We're about to embark 2 hours of medical marijuana and marijuana reform in Michigan.
Planet Green Trees. Attention, ladies and gentlemen. The Planet Green Trees show is underway with your host, attorney Michael Komorn.
Alrighty.
We have launched.
What do you know? It's Planet Green Trees, and it's episode 508. Nice. Thank you for joining us tonight. Appreciate everybody being here. It's a wonderful evening. Today's April the 1st, 2021.
April Fool's Day.
My name is Michael Komorn of Komorn Law PLC. And this is episode number 508. We're calling it I Smoke 2 Joints in the Morning.
Dan.
On tonight's episode, we have our special guest here, John Schlicker from Cannapalooza Worldwide. He's in close
And I
proximity.
smoked 2 joints this afternoon.
Since we've been here.
We have an outstanding show. We're going to tease the topics and introduce our panel of entertainment that is here and flowing with entertainment, humor, and love. We're going to go around the room and let them introduce themselves in a moment. But for tonight's topic tease, understand that none of these things could happen, or it's not likely that all of them are going to happen. But
like the first two if you're lucky. So.
I may rant. I may threaten about that all night. The Michigan to spend $20 million from cannabis tax revenue on medical marijuana research has been promised before and is being promised again. That's really what that should say.
Yeah.
It was promised in part of the law the first
It's
time.
in the law.
Detroit adult use marijuana license application now open to all.
Ooh.
First penalty for pot banking violation lands on credit union.
Uh-oh.
And then it was 50 years ago today. The first hash bash took place. I think in a very Rain Man-esque way, Alan Pizer made me go back because he knows what date that particular day would have been 50 years ago, and told me that 12 o'clock this afternoon, people were on the Diag 50 years ago smoking cannabis in the first hash bash protest of all time, says Alan Pizer. We can fact check that later and confirm whether that's his actual quote.
We're going to go to Snopes. So.
But
this would have been the 50th, because the first one was in 1972. So if you count that as the first year, and you count every year after this, this year would have been the 50th hash bash.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, mathematically that makes sense.
The Jubilee.
Yeah, year will be the 50th anniversary.
This begins. This
I
begins
see.
the 50th year.
Next year will be an awesome gathering. There'll be a couple of years of pent up frustration that gets taken out on that one, I think.
Taking your frustration out.
Who knows? By that time, it'll probably be
An explosion.
By that time, it'll probably be
splooge.
illegal again. Just kidding.
Fuck yeah.
All right, let's go around the room here. We've got the bunker boys that don't necessarily want to be visually seen for some reason, but you got Tommy, you got Justin, and you got Dirty Dan.
Dirty Dan.
And to their immediate space, in a lane close by, you have the one and only and founder of the Michigan Parents for Compassion, and understand lobbying for CEO of Amazon these days. Please welcome Jim Powers.
Good evening, Michael. Good evening, everybody. It's good to be here. Looking forward to the show.
All right, good stuff. My man who usually can come through for me on everything except for some specific names that need to be. He's the rover.
Tough one.
He's the rover for all things Komorn Law, and on vacation 2 days this week. Noticed. Don't forget that deep library.
It's been on the schedule for months.
I'm not saying if it had been years, I'm not saying it makes it any easier. But he's got a tremendous catalog, if I didn't mention, from the 70s music. Yeah. Flying Like an Eagle and stuff. Please welcome Steve Miller. Steve Miller.
Thank you. Good to be here. Ready for the hash bash. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Is anybody else excited for the hash bash?
Yeah.
it's a magical
That's a
time of the
dyad.
year.
Let's do this. Okay, we're
Magical
backtracking for sake of conversation. Jim Powers, go back to Steve. What's your most memorable? What's your fondest memory of hash bash?
Honestly, it's probably 2 years. I remember the first time I went, I actually attended with Rebecca Brown, who was another parent of a child that used medical cannabis to address some pretty serious issues. And, we were sitting there chatting while it was going on and talking about how, as we grew, that hopefully next year we'd be on the stage. And sure as shit, the following year I was on the stage. And that was pretty cool. The energy of the crowd was awesome. And it was a magical time in Michigan marijuana history. It was before dispensaries were really legal, like actually written into the statute.
What year are we talking? Do you remember?
This was 2015, maybe.
15, okay.
And it was different. Compassion clubs were still around. You had people operating in whatever the gray area or whatever people want to call it. And it was just cool. It was a cool time, and I very much. I mean, I love the fact that it's legal, but I miss a lot of what it was.
Okay. All right. Very good. Steve, you reminded me of wanting to ask that question. What if any memories that are fun can you share with us about your hash bash experiences?
2 years ago, I was there with Jim and his wife and Deb, and we had a great time.
That was fun.
And I got to give a speech that year.
It's a good speech.
It was the Fuck Bill Shooty speech. I did that in honor of Jim.
Yeah, buddy.
And Michael, you may have had some mention in that speech as well.
It's a tough venue.
That was a fun year. It was fun. We had a good time.
It's a tough venue to give a speech, I got to tell you. But go ahead. Okay, so next, first of all, we have next around the corner from Tinker, what is it? Tinker to whatever to Chance. What's that? Nobody would even understand that reference, but it's a double play combination. I mean, infield. All right.
Oh, God.
Back from her travels,
Yes.
not yet fully into the YouTubing
No.
influencing mode that we've known her to be. But here to share all of the wisdom that has been learned. Please welcome from the Elevation Station, Amanda Joslin.
Thank you so much, Michael. And yeah, I will be getting back on the horse with my YouTubing. So as to keep everybody updated about what's going on out there. So just in preparation for that, make sure everybody goes into like and subscribe to the Komorn Law and the Elevation Station pages. But
You need a mic.
also,
Yeah.
one of my more memorable hash bash experiences. They've all been pretty memorable, but I remember one year the weather was particularly nice. I can't remember. I think it was maybe 2015, perhaps. But either way, it was just I guess just the energy that the crowd has during the time of the protest. It's like one day each year that we can all just kind of like set things aside and looking at not only how far we've come, but how much more we need to do. And there's always some really, really powerful speakers, and I'm looking forward to this year too.
Should be fun. As we mentioned before, we have John Schlicker's brought his friend. Why don't you introduce us to your friend, John Schlicker? And please welcome the one and only John Schlicker,
Thank you, Michael.
The Cannapalooza.
Worldwide.
Worldwide.
Cannapalooza worldwide, yes, and it will happen this year, August 19th through the 22nd.
Nice.
Stay tuned for details. Follow us on Facebook now, and I brought my partner and Joe. He's also the owner of the Ancient Extracts Company, a great medical company.
Whoop, whoop.
Joe Sullivan in the house. I
going?
can't see him. How you
Yes.
Good, good.
So we're moving forward with some planning for this year's event. Fuck Bill Schuette and fuck COVID. You know, go out, get your shot, and come to Cannapalooza Worldwide in August. It's going to be a great time. The fun guys probably going to be around, and, you know, we're just going to love and live, love, and be happy. We're going to be out in the middle of 200 acres, half a mile from any road. There will be some security at the gate, so one way in, one way out, and it's going to be a great time at the magical Enchanted Forest.
That's how most horror movies start, John.
Yeah.
Can I bring my chainsaw?
Oh my.
Have these front desk guys been
No, that's why John has security.
That is why I have security, Alan. No chainsaws allowed except by my own team. And we'll welcome camping for the weekend. So it's going to be a great time. Once again, there will be music and speakers, educational speakers and entertainment. Going to be some good food, good people, and good times to be had, good cannabis. What more could a hippie ask for?
That's heaven right there.
You know, and stand up for the caregivers. We support them 100%. So come on out and have a good time with us.
We'll
Thank
be
you
there.
for having me here, Michael. And I'd like Joe to give a shout out to his company for a minute.
Yeah, I'm Jim Sullivan. I own the Ancient Extracts Company with my wife Donna. We've been around for a few years. If you've had a chance to try our product, it's pretty good. It's all homemade, made from scratch, never melted down. So hopefully I'll see you soon. I will definitely see you at Cannapalooza.
Yeah, Joe's helped me a lot with it this year, and I'd like to welcome aboard.
And if I understand things, the part of the Enchanted Forest or the Betrayal Garden, that'll be marked off so people know to stay away from there, right? Just kidding. It's from a South Park episode, you know what I'm talking about? That Betrayal. The
Yeah, just like I know about chin diapers.
PX90. I don't know. All right. So now we're moving up to the Zoom room up there. I can't really see.
The Zoom-a-loom.
I see we have. Let's start with. Wait, did you guys? Wait, you didn't hear your hash bash.
Hash
moment.
bash
No,
experience.
but John and Joe have to give it. If
You know, I've had very many great hash bash experiences, but one of my better ones is probably, as Steve mentioned, maybe 2019, you know, after we got legal, and we got to put a D on the sign that we had been hanging for a few years, you know, the big banner, and thanks, Doc, for helping me out with that each year. Or rather, myself helping him out. So,
And I'm
yeah.
still building my experiences. I've only gone a few times myself, more so when I was younger, and than I have recently. But yeah, I was at the 2019, and that was a really good event.
that was a really good event.
yeah, that's
They're
right.
all fun. They're
All
all
right.
good.
Let's spin it up to the Zoom dudes. We got we got the Rasta Rabbi there. He's got his
Rasta.
rapper chain on and his
John.
headset. You may even mistake him
He,
for
he just needs a clock.
the pilot of
needs
Rastafarian
his
Airlines. He could be Rastafarian Airlines, it looks like. Please welcome Alan Peisner. Alan
Thank
Peisner.
you. Thank you. I think you named the show after me or my routine. Smoke 2 joints. That's my morning routine. I smoke 2 joints when I get up. I smoke 2 joints and more. Anyway, thank you for having me on the show. And my favorite hash bash I can remember is 2016, and I have pictures, so I know 2016 is a specific year because I have the pictures from that year. I heard Jim Powers speak to the entire group of the hash bash people, and he was talking about issues with the medical need for cannabis with his son and how much cannabis has helped his son. But I thought I knew this guy, but I wasn't sure. Because it'd been like 20 years.
20
It turned
years.
out
Yeah.
I'd known him from early. Anyway, what Hash Bash did was it put us back together and, you know, reassociate where I hadn't seen him in all this long time, even though we had had some association with cannabis activism beforehand. But, you know, that was great to have that friendship reestablished.
Yeah, it was great.
This is probably a good time to promote next week's show, episode number 509, which will be a story on what Alan Pizer was like 20 years ago.
Honestly, he wasn't that different from what he is like just today.
I do not
Do you
believe
have
that.
some pictures you could share with us, Alan? We might be able to put together like a little, little.
I definitely have pictures from the 2016 Hash Bash. But from 20 years ago...
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I have a few. Digital cameras were just coming out then, so I could share some.
There we go.
Joining us all the way from, I don't know where he is. I'm just going to guess somewhere in the South Texas-ish area. But he may not even want to disclose it. He's my good friend. He's internationally renowned iguana lover and guitar player and lawyer. Please welcome Jeff Frazier.
Hello, Michael. Hello, everybody. What a wonderful day, being Thursday and all. And yes, I'm at an undisclosed location, wondering if you believe the Fourth Amendment applies in a civil asset forfeiture proceeding.
It does. It does and can. There's case law that support that, I believe.
Doesn't in Texas, doesn't in California, can you believe? At least according to the poorly written opinions that are controlling.
Is it good faith, bad faith, or is it just it doesn't apply?
They just squealing, like give us another couple of good years, kind of stuff. How you doing?
We're okay. We're okay. Chaos as always,
New York legalized. When New York legalized alcohol, that's what ended prohibition.
Yeah, it sure did. And I think it won't be that different this time around either. It's a big fucking deal.
Well, just because it's New York, you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's
it's a turning point.
The entire country is looking to New York.
Oh no, but Schedule 3, Schedule 2. Yeah, well, Biden's about to introduce some Schedule 3 legislation, and it'll all be cool, right?
Well,
wait a second.
Those people that just got fired.
Yeah.
Amanda
asked a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I got a question.
Yeah, what about the people?
Good old Sloppy Joe.
That's relatively minor compared to the pesticide bombings of the cocoa fields and the marijuana fields in South America that has resumed, according to Jeff.
Well, I mean, solid choices.
Are they using paraquat? They're doing paraquat bombings again?
No, they use Roundup Ultra with various accelerants and a bunch of risk.
It's the only way to go.
It's not good.
You gotta hit it home.
Not good.
We just need some genetically
modify the marijuana. That's right. That's right.
We need some Franken-doobie, genetically modified.
Yeah. And then we can all be smoking Roundup like the good old days.
I'm still here.
And then we'll begin to have the first deaths from cannabis. That's how it goes, right?
Yeah. Shit. Then everything will be normal.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes dangerous. Like they're going to breed it into danger, right? All right, you don't get away. I mean, do you got a hash bash story?
A hash bash story? I've been once. I recall a green bus.
Oh yeah, the cannabis.
The cannabis, yeah.
Yeah, that was always pretty cool.
I took my high school daughter to when she was in high school. My one and only hash bash. I took my daughter to, and I saw the green bus. Also, I got married on hash bash for the second time.
Very cool.
So far.
Those are good stories. All right, so we got, we're moving around the room here. I see we've got attorney Allie McCormick joining us from Komorn Law, sporting a Esteban's Divine
Organic Honey.
Divinity Honey. It's Divinity Honey.
All right.
And you look cute in that color too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry for the late arrival. I was, wrangling around these dogs to try to get them to settle down. So they're finally, if you want to see, they're finally happily. Well, we can at least see Louie.
Well, don't talk too loud because he's gonna wake up.
That's right.
Can't mention his name too many times.
Yeah.
It's like, what's that? You say their name like 3 times. They show up. What is it?
Yeah,
Biggie Smalls.
Mary or whatever.
Yeah, Bloody. No, I think it was Bloody Mary. Yeah, can't say it too many times. Or Beetlejuice.
Man or something.
Beetlejuice, right?
Beetlejuice.
South
Can't
Park.
say it too many times, or he'll appear.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a South Park episode I have to tell you with Butters calling out for Biggie Smalls. He shows up and starts shooting him. It's pretty funny.
That's a good episode.
Allie's also going to be YouTubing it on the Dash Hound episodes, the Lawyer Dash Hound episodes. I think is what we're calling. We're working on that. It's in production.
Really?
I don't know. I'm just kidding. It's just
Oh, you got me really excited.
unboxing the Dash Hounds or something like that. We could call it. It could be like that. What is yours? At yours is like one of those. What do they call it? It's a French.
Mine's a French bulldog.
Right. Model.
I know, we have to get
glam
Daisy-
glam dogs.
Yeah.
Let's
we
get
gotta get
Daisy and
together.
Louie together.
Because she really needs somebody to play with. Quincy's at an age now, he's just not into it, you know? He's just
Oh,
not
Layla's into it, but
And
not all the time.
She has a lot of energy, and I'm telling you what, that's why they say Frenchies are better in pairs. And I don't know if I can do it, you know? But
Well,
the thing is we need some play dates.
yeah, of course. We'll have to set some up.
Let's be honest. Dogs are really demanding.
They are.
They're very
My
demanding.
goodness,
Let's just be honest.
I'm not even kidding you. I
know
feel
when-
like it's 24/7.
Puppies. Yeah.
When I get to leave the house.
I gotta go
without
home.
The dog.
The dog's gotta get out. I gotta home. Gotta go home. Dog's inside.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly. Yeah, you know,
If
they're
I have to come
wonderful,
back,
but
I think it may be as a dog. And
All of my masks smell like my dog now. You know, like I can't go anywhere without smelling.
peppered with
But it's a good smell. It's a good puppy
like
smell. Like
litter.
I've
like
got
it.
mini
I
pins.
smell it
same
now.
thing.
It's on me.
Mine just get like dog hair trapped inside of them a lot of the times.
All right, let's open up. We got more people in this. Oh yeah, Allie, do you have a hash bash experience that you can refer to? I mean, you know, I'm
Or
not.
are we going to create one?
Yeah.
Are we creating an experience for you, Allie?
I have been one time a long while ago, and really I just kind of recall just being in a whole big crowd of people and just, you know, passing around the love and enjoying a good time.
Right, and none of the speakers. No one speaks just really stand out.
At that time, I didn't really know about all that, so
Right.
I think I was still an undergrad. So it was probably about 20, 21, maybe 22.
All right. Was it a good day or a bad day for weather?
I mean, I don't remember it being bad. I just
All right.
remember it being a little chilly for my taste. But also, if it's below 70, that's a chilly day for me. So
Understood. Okay. There have been some history of bad days
Yeah.
weather-wise. But
Snow.
let's introduce Chad Morrow's joining us from Chad Morrow. Chad, welcome. Thank you for being here. Give a shout out to you in a location of your smoke shop so people can contact you if they want to get some Delta 8 or something or some CBD stuff. Go ahead.
Messed up.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me on, Michael. Smokers Alley, Westland, 380 South Illinois, Westland, Michigan. Largest vape selection in town, and probably the largest Delta 8 selection in town as well. Just picked up a couple of second and third product lineups of it.
Excellent.
Wasteland, not Westland.
Right.
Yeah.
Where's that being distributed from? I'm just curious if you would share. You don't have to give us any names. but-
Where am I getting it from? It's coming from a few different places. I've been getting it, the stuff I've been carrying for the past, 4 or 5 months. It's been coming from Colorado. There's another, I'm getting the next product lineup's coming from California. And the third one, I believe, is at North Carolina.
Yeah, without
What
any.
companies?
The one I've got right now, honestly, they just go by Delta 8. They were one of the first and original ones to come out, and they got that name. The other one is Cake. They got a really funny play off the cookie C. They literally have the cookie C but call it Cake, and they have all those names. But they're a real popular one because they're a full gram disposable, and again, with the marketing play that people are going to buy it. And then the third one, I'm not really sure of the brand name yet. It's a friend of mine that's just launching a company though. So.
And for those at home that aren't following along, Delta 8 has not been yet listed as a controlled substance, and Isn't that? It's not illegal to buy. It's not illegal to sell.
Keyword is yet.
And it comes from the cannabis sativa L plant, but it's extracted. Am I right about this, John?
No,
what?
It's not extracted. It's a
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring this up right now because the one guy, he just got back from Colorado, and apparently they had a meeting out there, and I guess it was interesting because I had 2 reps in on the same day, and one rep was telling me that he was basically the federal government is asking his company, or the industry, so to speak, I guess, to prove that this is a molecule actually inside the hemp plant, and if they can do so, that they're going to basically approve it, is what he's telling me, for use, like FDA-wise. They just want to be sure that this isn't something like Spice or K2. Now, my other rep came in and said the exact opposite. That he says within 2 years, he says 95% chances that this is going to be outlawed.
Yeah, they're not going to let a good thing go.
It's created by way of like a chemical reaction, and like foreign agents are used. It's not like just the plant or something like that.
Yeah, that's what
a lot of people think Delta 8's awesome, and it probably is, but the issues are without regulation. And I'm not like a huge fan of it, but it's true. Without it, you don't know if those agents are residually left over or what they are in the product. And sometimes other things like Delta 9's added back in just to make sure like somebody gets a good effect from it. And that's obviously not dangerous, I think, in any of our eyes. But if you're trying to use it because you're avoiding it, then that's kind of bogus, you know. So I mean, a lot of people do love it, and I think like if it's a product without any shit in it or something like that, it's probably going to be popular for a lot of people.
That's what I would think we really needed to get to the bottom of. It sounds like, oh, it's just one step down from Delta 9, Delta 8, but it's, you know, Delta 9 exists in the plant. You don't need to, you don't need to extract from the plant, right? Is that right? So it's not, is it not naturally occurring, and only from certain chemical interactions, including those chemical reactions within the human system? Is that possible? Is Delta 8 metabolized into carboxy Delta 8? These are good questions. Who's got answers for me? Jeff Frazier. Jeff Frazier, what do you say? Scientist. We love science. Let's go. Delta 8.
That's a good, interesting conversation, though.
I was going to say, Jamie Lowell
Tiffany
knows the answer.
who's the head of the National Cannabis Industry Association Science Committee, and discussing it a few weeks ago on Jazz Cabbage.
You know, it's going to bring them down. It's going to hurt the industrial industry for sure. You know, they're going to crack down, and it's going to be a crackdown on industrial hemp, because now you're playing games with hemp, right? You're messing with the definition of hemp. So if we get things descheduled, you know, great. That's all great and good. But I think that this is I think there'll be blowback, and I don't think I don't think it's going to help the industrial side, the industrial hemp side of the industry, because all of a sudden now we're going to get a ruling that all Delta 8 is a controlled substance, and all of a sudden we're back to where we started.
All right, but from this perspective, hold on. So this is what I was trying to understand. Is it naturally occurring? Can anyone answer? Does Delta 8 naturally occur as a cannabinoid in the plant, or am I taking from what Jamie said that
they're making it from CBD, from hemp?
It says here that.
All right, here we go. That's what I wanted someone to get on Wikipedia.
Here that it is a naturally occurring compound.
It's a very small amount.
But in very small amounts.
Okay.
So what typically has to happen is that it has to be extracted. So that's why you're seeing it in gummies or
Sure.
carts and things like
Right.
that.
Because you
it
couldn't.
doesn't produce enough of it.
Additionally, because it is naturally occurring in such small amounts, but additionally, if you extract the whole plant extract, or from the hemp plant, and then throughout like Jamie's recognizing there, throughout a process that's involving bringing in outside variants and chemicals and such things, that there's boiling points where other things such as CBD will transfer and convert itself into Delta 8, and that's how they're getting the larger amounts of the Delta 8.
The 2018 Farm Bill explicitly legalized all hemp-derived cannabinoids, extracts, and derivatives with no qualifications. Delta 8, so long as it's derived from hemp, is 100% legal under the bill.
Yep.
Slinging some Delta 8s.
I didn't say that it wasn't. I'm saying that we're going to get some food. Okay.
It seems as if, well, I mean, first of all, can anyone say that the Delta 8 that's being extracted is being extracted from a plant that has 0.3% less of THC? Is there anything preventing a plant that has more than 0.3% THC from extracting Delta 8? If there's more THC than what the hemp definition is there more possibility of getting greater amounts of Delta 8? Yes, that's a good question. Does any of that matter? Is there a ratio?
I think that what they're doing, what I've heard from client and colleague is that you can get CBD from hemp and then turn the CBD into Delta 8. That's
correct.
CBD is turned into Delta 8.
They make Delta 8 from hemp-produced CBD. Which,
and they can actually,
according to the Controlled Substances Act, is not a controlled substance.
Yeah, but you can get CBD. You can have a CBD plant that's got CBD and a lot of THC. It's not hemp, but it's producing CBD. And if you extract the CBD and then chemically react the whatever you got to do to create that's the way it's being explained, right? You're extracting and doing a chemical reaction with the. Anybody?
What? Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have
Yes.
to extract it, yes, from the plants.
Gonna hit the horse a couple more times here.
I agree with Jeff. I think something's going to happen.
I've seen Delta 8 distillate that also tests for having Delta 9 in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue, like
Right,
people are
right.
trying to specifically avoid Delta 9 sometimes, and it's not dangerous, but it's bogus when it gets added back
brought
in
it up.
because it's supposed to be Delta 8. And then if people don't properly clean out whatever, foreign shit that could be an
Correct.
issue, then it, so those things, otherwise, it's a lot of people really love this product,
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I'm amazed at how much of it I sell every week. I mean, we sell a ton of this stuff. I mean, and the companies I have, I mean, they do have they're following like the MMMR or MMA, or MFLA, excuse me, and they're adding batch numbers that you can follow and go to their. I have paperwork that lines up to them. So.
You're saying that they are also selling it through the regulated market? Through dispensaries?
Well, no, but what they're doing is they're trying to mimic the regulated market. So if anybody wants to check, like the
I
guy
see,
I
back
get
it up right. I see what you're saying.
They have
He's been in
codes. You can
Right.
scan it and leave
To
it
track where it came from the lab or wherever it came from that's making it right. Is it?
Right.
Is it? I mean, I know that the CBD product lines that are created from hemp processors, assuming they're tested, can be sold into the commercial market. There's nothing preventing access from that regard. Anyone dispute that? I wonder if this is the next stage, maybe the CBD products to be. I'm sorry, if they pass theoretically, they pass testing, you could probably sell them through the. If somebody wanted to do that, I don't know. I don't know if they do.
some of the dispensaries carry it.
What? Right.
The stuff that I have is already in some of the dispensaries.
Which means it's got to be tested and verified to some degree, and it's going to be checked for.
It doesn't mean any of that.
No, it
does
doesn't need to be tested. It's definitely things in the metric system that, you can sell other products besides stuff that's just in the metric system inventory.
Right.
And some people sell CBD products that are not in the metric system and
Papers.
Clothing.
other swag. And
Well, it's
all
got
that
to. I mean, they're not going to sell THC materials unless it's been
But
established.
see, this Delta, part of the story is, I think we should do a show on it sometime and,
Yeah, I agree.
get back and find out where Chad's hash bash, memories go. But there obviously, there's a push to follow what happened, the explosion that happened with CBD, and try to follow that model with this product.
Right. That's another one of those fun
some of these guys are opening up Delta 8 standalone stores. There's going to be one opening up in Commerce Township soon, and then I know these guys have some in some other states that don't even have cannabis laws legalization yet. So
There'll be some feedback.
Yeah, this is a product. This is a product of the war on marijuana and the legalization of hemp and just crazy stuff that's happening and how the momentum moves forward in the commercial mind of Americans. Chad, what is your favorite memory, if any, from the Ann Arbor's first Saturday in April?
I mean, honestly, I've only been to a handful of them. I've been to 5, 6, I guess, because I joined in and watched the virtual one last year. And every one, there's great memories. I think it's where I met DJ Short for the first time. A lot of people that I met for the first time, but I think probably the biggest impact to me was of course the year I got to speak. I don't know how many people there, 8,000, 10,000, 5,000, thousands of people though in front of you. And I just remember, I don't remember exactly what I said throughout the speech, but at the end of it, I remember saying "free the weed," and just the sheer roar and reaction of the crowd. I mean, it's to me, it's probably the closest thing I'll ever have to being on like a concert stage. You know what I mean? It was just the feeling was pretty impactful there. Other than that, I think I'm looking forward to this year too, though. I'm going to pretty much take part of both. I can be part of the virtual one on the phone, but I'm going to go down there this year as well. Wear a mask, socially distance. But to me, I think this year is going to be important because I think without the Memorial Street Fair there this year, to me, it's going to be more close to it. Kind of, it's like its roots. Smaller, just a protest. It's not going to have all the commercialization and stuff. So. Obviously, at my age, I wasn't able to be there in the 70s, but I'll be able to, I think, experience a little bit more direct protesting at Hash Bash this year.
That's true. That's a good point. It has really evolved into, something different than what it started out as, right? It's bound to have that happen since it is the longest running, consistent running protest
and it's
in America.
Great what it is. I'm not taking anything away from that. It's just saying like it's seeing what it's turned into. It's such a huge event. Even the growth, to having a pandemic to go into to virtual, with the modernization and technology, we were able to do something like that, which was great. But like I said, it's just I think the one year, hopefully next year we're more vaccinated and we're closer, back to normal and can all go back there again with, everybody. But, just in my mind, I think the smallness of it this year is going to be really kind of like its roots in a way.
John Sinclair will be on the Diag at noon this year in Ann Arbor, so I encourage people to attend. We
I'll
would
be
have no
there.
Hash Bash without John Sinclair.
Absolutely.
Alan says that with confidence because he will be making sure that John arrives there timely. We can.
Okay.
Alan is a good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good.
He's very punctual.
Very good.
Good at doing that. Getting it done.
And
Thank you
we'll see
very much, Alan. I'll see you there.
We want-
High noon.
I will personally be bringing John Sinclair to the Diag in my car.
Very cool.
I like this theme of Hash Bash. I want to, of course, introduce the one and only Jamie Lowell. It's now 41 minutes into the start of the show. We're introducing people still. Jamie Lowell's there. Jamie actually brought us back to what is Chad's favorite Hash Bash, and thanks for being so organized and thought, Jamie. Welcome.
I enjoyed the Delta 8 discussion, but it was like getting into like a full-on
yeah, that's true.
A show about it before this was done. That's all.
That's true. That is true. Again, very poignant and identifying that. But I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here. Let us know what's going on, and certainly let us know if you have any favorite or most significant memory from Hash Bash. And then I'm going to come right back at you with the first question for the show topic discussion tonight.
Yeah, I have a few things that I'm personally connected to through Hash Bash. It's something I just have a lot of affection for and connection to, and just personally. I want to continue on with Chad's story, and not that it's really necessary, but the bigger picture there, I don't know if you remember, Chad, was I was speaking, and you and Al had been doing a lot of great work in Gaylord. I mean, many things. You had this pending legal issues that were pretty intense that were coming down. You guys were trying to work on jury nullification. You were supporting a community of business operators in there. Just a lot of shit going around, and I wanted to bring you guys down and give an opportunity to highlight that stuff. And so anyway, as all things extrapolate back to me, that was just another one. Just needed to.
Thanks for that opportunity, Jamie.
But that was important because you guys were doing some great, really noticeable, intense shit up there. Of course, it went so far, given all the various political and police enforcement climates and all that kind of judges and all that kind of shit. But anyway, that was some great stuff back then. And that's in part what Hash Bash is about, is highlighting that kind of stuff. Throughout the years, whether Adam's been there or not, those have been really active. Have been highlighted there. I remember after kind of things got started after 2008. I've been going pretty regularly throughout the years, but definitely going at those times and starting to hear about Third Coast, hear myself mentioned, Daryl mentioned, a lot of people I started off doing some stuff with and getting encouraged by that. And then I began to be more formally involved, and probably since 2010, 2011, ever since, either organizing or speaking or whatever. But the two things I think that I'm really personally connected to is when I was there in the 80s one time after getting out of high school, and being able to go do stuff like that. And I just remember one of the speakers, I met him years later at a Marvin celebration. I forgot his name right now, but in part he said, "Hey, we're at war with a plant," and that was pretty simple, but it kind of helped to give me perspective at the time. And I've been going in this direction ever since. And then when I was able to start regularly introducing John Sinclair, that's been just a huge honor and very special to me. One thing I wanted to mention, though, too, that may not be in the list that we might want to get to, is that roadside swab deficient proper results report that came out, like 24% inaccurate or something like that.
That's within the tolerance for error with cool. Michigan State Police, so
that's a cool one.
It's just how they roll.
No shit. But you have to understand that every one of those tests was given with and only by a certified drug recognition evaluator. So it's not just the spit test is wrong 24% of the time.
And that's not what the article inferred. The article inferred the blood test was wrong.
This is the best part of it. The reports consistently will say that blood is the gold standard. That if you're going to make a comparison of any other test, the spit test would be compared to the blood as a way to challenge and know that the blood is the gold standard. In that report, we found this. There's a reference to false negatives in the blood. Like the blood's falsely reporting there's nothing there, in error.
But the spit is accurate.
That's what it says. And they've reproduced it in the second report. I mean, this is like the third report. By the way, every single conclusion that they've ever addressed from the spit test has been after the budget we've been given and doing guinea pig 5 counties. Now I've expanded statewide. Now it's state law. Here's another report. It's all inconclusive. The best they've gotten is that they're 1/4 of the time they're wrong with the spit test, and 1/4 of the time, and 1/4 of the time the DRE is wrong, which means all their rolling logs, the record that they keep of how many times they've called it like they're supposed to would reflect the same as well, and probably shouldn't be allowed to testify if that's the guessing game that we're using, right? Anyways, it is
3 out of 4 ain't bad, Michael.
You know what they would say? You know what a judge would say? It's just probable cause.
Yeah, it's just probable cause.
They can create
a long and impressive list of stuff to make everybody feel more comfortable with burning these people, even though they didn't really do anything.
it is. So, for purposes of whether we want to continue the discussion or not, let this be a public service announcement for those who may be engaging with law enforcement driving and be exposed to or asked or requested to take some kind of spit test. Here's some advice. It's not legal advice. It's my advice. Take it or leave it. I'm not giving it to you. But I tell clients of mine, don't walk, don't talk, and don't spit. That means the following. The field sobriety tests, standardized field sobriety test, and whatever A-ride test to determine if you are impaired by marijuana that may be given to you, you are not required to take, and it's not even a civil infraction if you refuse to take them. If they ask you to get out of the car and to walk the line, examine your eyes, stand on one leg, and then start with some convergence and 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, and whatever they come up with, you do not have to take them, okay? And let me also suggest if they're asking you to get out of the car, they're probably going to want to arrest you anyways, right? It's not the normal that they ask you to get out of the car, so keep that in mind. And if you think you're getting out of the car, I'm just going to pass these tests real quick and move on, don't think that way either, because number one, you don't have to take them. Number two, if you do think you're going to pass them, you probably won't. They're not what you think they are, and nobody should think that they can pass them.
Watch this. Hey, Steve, how many times did you pull over a suspected drunk driver, make them walk the line, and they didn't end up in the back of your car? A couple.
Well, if you have any chance of going home, it's not going to be because you take the test. It's going to be because you don't take the test and you don't give them probable cause to put you in the back of the car. And being able to respond with all due respect, officer, my lawyers advised me not to walk, talk, or spit. So I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm exercising my rights, and I will talk with my lawyers here, but I'm not going to take your test at this time. He's advised me not to.
So, Michael, not only these tests.
Tell them you're not taking the test. Most likely they're going to arrest you anyway.
They're going to arrest you anyways, but they're going to do that.
Giving them less evidence.
Right. So now they're going to arrest you if you get out of the car. Okay? If that's true, and you think you're going to take the test and pass them to get you out of this, that is a mistake. I'm saying they get you out of the car, they're probably going to arrest you anyways, whether you take them or not.
Yep.
So instead of...
You've already given them some reason to think you're intoxicated.
Do you even have to roll your window down? Can't you just put your license insurance up to the window and say, here you go?
mean,
you don't have to say nothing.
You can, but in some jurisdictions, they might not take so kindly to that.
Michigan fair DUI? I mean, you can just...
This is... Well, I agree. You don't have to let them in the car. No one's advising you to roll the window down on the way and let them stick their head in, because that's what they'll do. Mm-hmm. You can put the window down a little bit. If they start asking you questions, say, I'm only, the rule is that you're required to provide for them by virtue of you being on the roads and having a driver's license, a valid driver's license, proof of insurance, and registration. That's what you give to them. You don't have to answer questions. Mm-hmm. I don't answer questions, officer. I'm not here.
That's the big thing is just shutting up.
Yeah,
right.
Don't talk.
He's not your friend.
Right.
Don't
tell him a story. Don't sit and chat about his day.
Doesn't need to know where you're coming from.
No.
Who you were with. What road you were getting off on. Why are you driving that way if you're coming this way?
No,
This is not information that is part of the traffic stop. The point of the pullover is one thing and one thing alone. To give a ticket for the reason for the stop, the traffic violation. And if something evolves out of that, it's because it's coming out of your mouth or your failure to be able to produce.
Try to further the investigation.
Correct. And the way it gets furthered is by not having your papers in order. Number 1, 2, and 3.
And opening your big fat mouth.
And talking or answering questions for things that are not required, and giving information when it's not required. And there's a moderate way to do this, so it's not offensive, and it may not be something that you want to go to out of the gate. Sometimes being somewhat polite gets it done. You know what I mean? And they don't really give a crap. If you lock up right away, but you'll get the feeling from the person. And certainly if they start giving you, it smells like marijuana in here,
Yeah, you know what direction that's going.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to
That's going one way.
Towards the jail.
So there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of evidence and issues concerning the accuracy of testing, not just with this thing that we're talking about, but other ways of measuring people's, I guess, intoxication or whatever it is. Is there any retroactive looking at people that get caught up in that's now been exposed to these inaccurate things?
No.
Prosecution?
What they've done is they've said in this report, starts out with blood is the gold standard.
Except
we've come up with a 25
when there's spit.
We've come up with this 25% error rate where this X amount of times we arrested people using the spit test and the reliance of the DRE. And the only explanation for that, why this thing is accurate, is because the blood testing is showing false negatives. And all those times that it said it wasn't the blood, it was probably an error. That's the logic that's being used. I can't say it any clearer. And
sounds crooked.
And this is what you.
Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. I mean,
this is what's become to be expected. I mean, this was a, just decluttering around here, and I found some folder that was like the police opposition to the legalization of marijuana, and it's, the International Chief of Police Association, the same. Academia that created the DREs. It's the same group. Like, you want to get a DRE, you go to that school of academics, which is like, the police chiefs. They put together some science stuff, and they're like, come get trained by us and become a DRE. I mean, and they of course were opposing the legalization, and their best argument was it's very, very difficult to determine probable cause to arrest someone when they're driving. It's very difficult. It's hard to see. It's almost like it's not there. It's almost like it doesn't exist, but we're having a really tough time finding it. So,
hey, Steve,
don't legalize marijuana.
How did you know when someone was driving drunk?
That's easy.
You're rolling down the road.
Yeah.
How would you know? Well, gee, I should pull them over because I think they're a drunk driver.
You see the weaving back and forth within the lane. You cross the fog line. There's speeding up and slowing down. A lot of irregular driving behavior.
So there was obvious behavior that would indicate someone was intoxicated. So.
And Jim, did I ever see anybody doing that when I went up and then arrested them solely for driving under the influence of marijuana? The answer to that is no.
Yeah?
Because I didn't see it.
Right.
They're right. You don't see it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I smelled marijuana in the car, I was arresting the person for the
possession of
the
marijuana
and not even thinking about a driving charge in relation to it. Not even thinking about it. And I don't think too many of the guys were at the time. Now it's like a dominating thought.
Right. They'd be smoking a joint. You pull them over. They'd be like, "Shit, it smells like weed." You find the bag and the burnt roach.
Yes.
They gotta keep revenue for the district court.
Arrest them for marijuana. No driving issues. You give them a ticket. You let them go, drive out, or something like that. Probably, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, you could.
But like you're saying, there was no issue of the.
There was no
for
issue.
driving.
There was no correlation between bad driving and marijuana that I saw.
How about this?
20+ years of police work.
What about pulling someone over for a traffic offense like speeding, or switching lanes without whatever? Maybe I don't know if that's a thing. Or lights out. When lights out, defective equipment. You get up to the car and it reeks like alcohol. You're like,
that turns into a
right. But does that? I mean, the driving's okay, but when you get up to the car, they've got a. Because there are people that are, they're good drinkers. They can drive and drink, and they're fine.
Yeah, there's some people can function at very high levels of alcohol.
In fact, a lot of the drunk driving cases in my practice that I've had were very rarely people that were, like functional alcoholics. It was more of somebody who was coming home from a wedding, opening day, hockey game, something like that. It's like an event where they just got a little too crazy. Went to a party, wedding, bar mitzvah, something. I don't know. But, had one too many toasts for the groom or something like that, where they're out of their element, a little too celebratory. That's when those things happen.
Like Donnie.
But the philosophy is, as we learned, one of the judges said this to us. Well, what about all the other times he was driving and didn't get caught, counsel?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's like the perception of the courts. All right, Jim says we got to take a break.
We got to
when
take
we
a
come
break.
back, I'm going to pose some questions. We're going to start with Jamie Lowell. You're on the hook first, and I want honest answers. No cabbage answers. Just kidding.
What are these questions going to be coming at me surprise, or
We're going to ask everybody. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you now. We're going to ask everybody. They're going to be equally. Everyone's going to get an answer, and we want to hear what the discussion is. That's all I can say.
Didn't answer my question, but okay.
It's about hash bash.
It's going to be a surprise.
We'll be right back.
Surprise, surprise,
We need
surprise.
to see the questions in writing in advance.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you don't.
You're listening to Planet Green Trees.
The Planet Green Trees Show.
Join the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association today, michiganmedicalmarijuana.org. The MMMA is focused on the well-being and safety of medical marijuana patients. The MMMA site provides the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on legal issues, politics, research, cultivation, as well as the various strange products and methods of cannabis use. Come join the discussion with the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates in Michigan today, michiganmedicalmarijuana.org.
Now's the time to pull it out.
Okay, so our next guest, our next speaker is Antoinette Sarfo. Everybody knows her as Q, of course. Many of us welcomed her into our homes for many years. She was the Channel 2 Fox News newscaster in the morning. I watched her for years. I felt like she was a friend before I even knew her. Following her MS diagnosis, she's led a very public campaign advocating for the use of medical marijuana in the treatment of MS. And she's a tireless leader, and she's one of the people that we can really thank for the passage of Prop 1. So here we go, my friend Q. Unmute your mic, Q.
Okay, here we go. Is that better? Take two? All right, perfect. Thank you, everybody. Happy Digital Hash Bash, everybody, and thank you for joining the party from home. Today, while we celebrate legalization and take a puff of appreciation for the men and women who spent the last 50 years getting us to this moment, we must recognize that their work and our work is far from finished. A few months ago, I had a multiple sclerosis relapse, and I passed out and possibly had a seizure. I want to thank the Farmington Hills Fire Department and the EMS workers who helped me that day. My doctor later prescribed me a medication, one that costs $1,200 a month, and that is with insurance. So guess what? That prescription is still at the pharmacy. But what my doctor didn't tell me is that some patients who are having issues such as mine were seeing results with cannabis, which would cost me about $100 a month if I went with an option like this, which is full extract cannabis oil. He couldn't tell me that even if that was too expensive, I could just grow it myself like this. This is Michigan grown hemp, and I can make the extract myself. My doctor can't give me and patients like me all of their options. Cannabis education is still being censored in the medical community. We must end this, and we really have to put the medical back in medical marijuana. I treat my mother's diabetes and arthritis with cannabis, and it is working. Yet she and so many patients like her, elderly patients, are terrified to tell their doctors. How is this healthcare? It's not. And we can't stop with cannabis. Legalization actually starts with cannabis. This magic mushroom also grows naturally. Cultures have used them safely for centuries. Researchers have been studying them for conditions like depression, Alzheimer's disease, and addiction for decades. But they remain illegal. Why? It is time for us to decriminalize nature. DNA2.org is working on that, so please, please consider joining and supporting their efforts. And finally, let's not forget that people are still in jail and in prison for nonviolent marijuana offenses, and those who are released live in the shadow of records that should have been expunged by now. Michigan lost a champion in the expungement fight with the death of Representative Isaac Robinson last month from coronavirus. We have to fill the void that he left and finally get expungement law passed in Michigan and across the country. So hey, let's celebrate today and let's get back at it tomorrow. You can always find me on social media at Channel Q, and I'm really looking forward to letting you guys know about something I'm unveiling on 420. So I hope to see you then, and until then, let me grab my puff. Puff, puff, don't pass. Stay safe by staying at home, and I'll see you soon. Back to you guys, the Hash Bash crew, and thank you so much for doing this. This is fun, and the parking is so much better.
Oh, that's so awesome, Q. Thank you.
I wish there was thunderous applause. You deserve it.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Rick, why don't you tee up our next speaker?
Next year, this will be 10 times as big. Post your photos. Next thing, if you got a joint, now's the time to pull it out.
Hi, this is retired Sergeant Steve Miller, and you are watching Planet Green Trees.
And now back to more Planet Green Trees.
We're back. Welcome back.
We are back. Thanks
We're
for staying
back.
with us. Planet of Green Trees, episode number 508. Smoke 2 joints in the morning. Returning to the topic of hash bash, Jamie, you can go first. Is hash bash still what it was originally intended? Has it sold out? And is there reason to protest the commercialization of hash bash? What you say? And this is open for everybody.
No.
No what?
I don't know. There were several questions there, I guess.
So the blank. So
no
that's
works.
just no. So what?
I don't buy into it. I don't buy into it being like commercialized to like any kind of detrimental degree. It's not done as it was originally. That's for sure. But I do think the original intentions and components definitely remain. If not being able to describe, maybe adding on to some stuff, or and maybe different people having a different perspective on what it is to them, as we found out when we spun it around the room, and people came in at different eras on this, and it's gone through some changes over the years, and that's what happens. So no, it's there. I don't get into any of that kind of shit. It still is what it is. It's awesome.
You don't get into it. What I was asking is it what it was intended? That's one question. I guess you're saying.
Yeah, I'm saying yes to that.
Okay, it is okay, and okay, that's interesting. You say no, it has not sold out, right?
Right.
And I guess it's an interesting time right now because we have. I think. Listen, there's a in terms of the history and legitimacy of the not legitimacy, the history and the as the longest running protest, there was almost like a legitimate question that could have been asked: is there still a need to protest? They've legalized it. Well, we all know that there's still a lot more to work with. There's a lot more to work for, and things that still need to be done, obviously. And
the people showing up at the Diag are going to be talking about that, and we're going to be talking about that during the virtual stream.
Okay, but I'm back to.
So what are we protesting?
Listen, I'm getting back to this. So I'm saying, so
I have a list of shit, but go ahead,
the point that I'm getting at is, has it sold out, or is it what it was intended to be? We know that it's got things to still protest and talk about. Yet there's a certain calm of the protest to a certain degree, right? It's not as much. There's new people, there's new dynamics of those that support it, those that stood there for it, that arguably may have been contributors to it, stand on the side that are still contributing to it. That's what I mean by when I say, is it still intended to be what it was intended? Like, I don't think that someone within the law enforcement community would be asked back in the day to speak there. Now, of course, there's been some evolution. There's, it's not as politically bad but it also, I would say, has become somewhat of a popularity political piece. I know that there's a lot of politicians that have moved themselves into certain positions of, getting elected by. I mean, across the board, because just as a matter of fact, like we know that the platform of the nationwide attorney generals for the Democratic Party were encouraging those running for office to embrace legalization in those states that were doing it. The polls showed that. So I say that in the sense that supporting it is one thing. And I say that, you can think of the other people that would have never been at, who's the dingo, what's her name?
Debbie?
Was she at one of these recently?
Who's the dingo?
Coming up.
Who's the dingo?
She was on the virtual.
Senator
she was the
Dingo?
virtual. She's in the virtual. Right.
Oh, representative. Well, that's why he thinks she's a dingo.
Yeah.
She is a member of Congress.
Whatever.
Oh.
All right, but
isn't she coming to your show?
Well, I'm saying though that
she was last year, of course, and she was on stage the year before. I'm sorry, go ahead.
She was on stage, correct, in 2019. If she's there in 2021, I'm going to give her a hug.
Okay, not a leader in this area.
Likely will be.
Not a leader in this area. You don't call.
No, she had to evolve into the idea.
She had to devolve out of what might be said as lock 'em up, war on the plant, into what may be recognized a popular position to be. The Democratic Party is moving that way. She wants to get votes. What a great opportunity for her to come and be seen with all these people. What has she done since? I mean, maybe she's back in it now, whatever, but she's not leading. It's not something that she. Anyways, I mean, just as an example, it was good political theater for her to be there. Does anyone doubt that?
Of course it was.
It didn't hurt her.
It's also good that somebody in her position is supporting.
Is she though? Is she though?
Yes, that's the point. Yes.
Is she?
Did you listen to her, or do you think she just makes it up? I mean, even if she's there making it up, to have somebody on stage who's saying this stuff that's in support of the movement.
Listen,
is significant.
I've heard people that are politicians that said that they believed in and supported this, and they did nothing about it and didn't really understand the issue. That's what I'm trying to say.
Not mention any names, Dana Nessel.
I'm not mentioning any names, and I'm not even referring to her.
And the governor, to a degree, too. They both are
fine. But what I'm saying is
completely as much as I think we would like, based on their campaign discussions.
The question that I really was trying to ask is it fair to give them that theater and get that credit for them to stand there when they really, not just them, anybody. Because that's what I'm saying. The commercialization to me is, the people that are going to be invited to speak are people that, they're going to speak and they're going to be believed. They're not going to be somebody other than that. And they're speaking from their heart, and they're going to do what they can to try to facilitate that. They're not going to get up and do a song and dance and then, play soccer. It's not that way. That's not my point is, I'm going to say a bunch of stuff that they don't mean because it's popular and sounds good, and it's easy to say free the weed to a crowd of 8,000 people, and they're going to go yeah. That's not
but that was cool at that moment, at that time, as Chad was describing.
For Chad, and Chad's still here. Chad still's on Planet Green Trees. I'm saying that.
We did have to provide Chad with the questions written down in advance. So
listen, my point is that like you said, Jamie, the beauty of that is that Chad was talking about some very interesting advocacy things for the community, on behalf of the community, and he continued to power through on those, and achieved his objectives in most, if not all of them. And then when he wasn't there the next time around, the guy got bounced, as he should have anyways, because he didn't live up to his promises. I don't want to mention any names, but
starts with a C.
Last name starts with a C. But anyways, the point is it fair to give that political cover, to let it be believed that?
Well, I don't accept the premise. I mean, you're forcing in your perspective. Yes, it's fair for them to speak there, period, without any other implication. They're the governor, the attorney general. They have something to say. If we can get them to say something on that forum, it's a good thing for the program.
Why would Bill?
I'm not making any other judgment about the fairness or anything like that. It's just good to have those high-powered elected officials making statements.
What about Bill Schuette?
What about Bill Schuette?
Fuck Bill Schuette.
I've said fuck Bill Schuette publicly on the same stage that Steve did.
All right, but would he not be invited? Wouldn't it be? Doesn't your logic that a big name figure like that would be good for it's good for the program?
No, I didn't. I'm not conflating Bill Schuette with anybody who's actually been invited there.
But if someone gets on the stage and says, "I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this," and then says, we might need a good legislative amendment to this. I think that the legislature needs to open this bad boy up and make all the changes they need. After all. And if they ask me who to use as your inside, think tank, we'll go back to all the people that lost the war on marijuana, and we'll re-empower them to make all these decisions and help implement the People's Initiative 2018 and turn it into a police bill. Right? I mean, don't. But that's who gets access to this stage, right? That's. That of the most important thing. The most important thing. Can you imagine? What if that happens and then all of a sudden the bills are amended, caregivers are removed? Should we be doing that?
This is unnecessary, fear mongering from my perspective, man. I don't get what's productive out of this conversation.
All right, let's move on.
Mr. Hash Bash may call in.
That's
soon,
fine. I mean, listen, I'm not picking on Jamie. Jamie, I'm sorry if I got.
I do want to say that he mentioned in the chat that John Sinclair wasn't necessarily happy with the direction that the Hash Bash was taking.
All right.
Yeah, there's many perspectives. This is 50 years old, and lots of changes and things like that, and there are many perspectives on it. And I can to adopt mine or
you know what?
somebody else.
Let me say it this way.
And Adam is going to have a very unique perspective on it, of all people. I mean,
well, does anyone doubt?
And support him in his position, so.
I'm sure he's listening at home, and I think today's his birthday. I don't know why I would know that, but isn't...
He's at dinner.
I'm going to mention the name. No. Jeff Irwin. Jeff Irwin.
Jeff Irwin's birthday, too.
Okay. And as I said, he's probably listening at
It's
home.
Eric Van Dusen's birthday, too.
All right.
All the big hitters.
And Jamie's response...
It's Kenny Gibson's birthday, too, if I'm not mistaken. I think I might have seen his name on that list.
It's everybody's birthday.
But when I say Jeff Irwin, no one doubts that he should be on that stage and be invited back every single time whenever he wants, right? Right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a difference there. He doesn't need that, right? He doesn't need to be there. Because he's it's not advancing him to be there. He'll be there because he wants to be there and he's part of that community. That's all I'm saying. I listen, I'm not attacking you, Jamie. I understand your point, like from a diplomatic standpoint. The growth and strength of that hash bash, it expands with the diversity of different influences that go there. But, and I want to participate. I guess, and you would say even if they're miseducated and make a lot of promises and have not intentions of fulfilling anything that they say, that'd be okay just because of the event itself and the dynamics of it, which is fine. I
never said that or implied that. And in fact, I went out of my way to say I'm not connecting myself to those premises. I'm not accepting them. I'm saying it's good that they're speaking there. And I guess the thing to discuss would be, is it okay for them to do that if we believe that they're being positive? Debbie Dingell or the Attorney General or the governor's trying to be positive just to be popular and get some more votes, and no matter how much we can get them to prioritize these things or to understand these issues and that type of stuff, is that good? And I think it is. I think that help. I think that is an incremental move forward in some ways, and they're more likely to do the things that we envision on down the road with working with them and including them on stuff like this. Somebody who's gone out of their way to intentionally hurt stuff, which I don't believe is the case for either one of them, would not be in that position, such as Bill Schuette.
Yeah, but Adam would let them speak at Hash Bash. If they were an elected official, if they were the Attorney General, whether they were positive or negative for cannabis, Adam would let them speak at Hash Bash.
He might have that perspective. Bill Schuette has worked himself out of rotation. I would like to think that even Adam would tell him to fuck off if he showed up.
I think Adam would let Bill Schuette speak it.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how we discern. None of these people. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like whoever speaks, they may want to be there. And for whatever their justifications why they want to be there is fine. But there's no difference in what their influences are. I mean, maybe some are a little more proactive at pounding things into the ground and hurting people by arrests and raid. But there's also arguably misleading things that are just as hurtful, or saying you're going to do something, take a certain perspective and develop certain things that are going to help, implement the voters' initiative as it was intended by the voters and not have it be bastardized by the losers of the war on drugs and the consulting groups that don't know and are looking for ways to felonize marijuana stuff. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I maintain a perspective on Dana Nessel and Gretchen Whitmer that's not like perfect when it comes to our issue.
That's fine.
No question about that. I don't equate that to whether or not they should have a presence there.
Sure. And listen, I'm saying this. I'm trying to be outside of the bubble, and I just seen it like, if you're going to let anyone talk, doesn't matter what party they're from, if they lie to your face with a smile and a hug at Hash Bash, that doesn't matter to me. It's the same as the Schuette. You know what I mean? Like one or the other. So if you're going to have one of them, you should have them all, because let them hear.
There's no like sound or valid comparison between them. I mean, there are some political machine component type things that that we could talk about.
That's what I'm saying.
But Schuette intended to hurt things.
I can't
say that about Dana, even though I'm not happy with progress. I can't say that about Dana.
You know what I like? I like when the prosecutor is totally an asshole to me. So that they're going to call me on every single rule and every single deadline. There's going to be no forgiveness. You know why? Because there's no faking it. I know they're going to do that, and I'm going to do that. We are holding ourselves. The second it gets friendly, you start trusting them and believing them, that's when you get fucked, just so you know. Anyways, Let's move around the room. Alan, what do you think? What do you think of Hash Bash these days?
I think it's an important thing to have in our history that this year is the 50th anniversary, or the 50th Hash Bash, what will be the 50th anniversary, the 49th anniversary of John Sinclair's contribution to Michigan jurisprudence, that is, recognizing that the law against marijuana back then was unconstitutional, classified it as a narcotic, and it was stricken from our books. And as a result, we had no law against marijuana for 90 days here in Michigan. And that's really why we have Hash Bashes, to celebrate the no law against marijuana and to celebrate the last day is how it came up to be April 1st.
I don't think celebrates the word. Isn't a protest against the fact that they're bringing in the laws, but also saying it doesn't matter what you do, we're still gonna use our cannabis.
That's a reasonable interpretation of it.
I mean, I'm basing it kind of like on the beginning intentions and like maybe reflection that somebody like such a purist like Adam might have too, like about that.
Right. What is disappointing to me has been the over-commercialization of it in the last 5 years, seeing how the Monroe Street Fair, is booked with all these vendors and everybody else selling stuff there. And I liked it when it was just old-fashioned with, speakers and...
So of the whole, like the bigger weekend, the whole umbrella of the weekend, kind of, because the Monroe Street Fair is obviously a separate event.
Well, there's like so many. There was like that.
Speaking of which, we have Adam here now.
Oh, well, excellent, because we have lots to ask Adam.
He is the authority, and he's connected.
I'd like everyone, though, to have a chance to say what their thoughts are on the current state of Hash Bash. I think that's a fair question. And Jamie, I wasn't arguing with you. I'm sorry. I was just playing devil's advocate, and I got a little...
Jamie, he likes to
I like to play
go
devil's advocate.
back and forth with you because you're intellectual like that.
Adam, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Sorry I couldn't get here earlier. We were out celebrating. My birthday is actually yesterday, which is kind of how I got involved in Hash Bash. It used to be the continuation of my birthday party.
How old are you?
53.
53 years young.
Yes.
That's awesome. So we were discussing, amongst other things, first of all, I mean, I don't even know if it's a fair...
I was listening in.
All right. I don't know if you got a favorite moment you want to say, you have one that stands out versus the others.
Sure.
And then also, you might as well jump in with...
I have a few favorite moments.
Give your diplomatic answer after that about whether Hash Bash has become too commercialized.
Yeah, break it down.
That's question number 2.
What do you think?
So, real simple. One of my favorite moments is I'm actually the one responsible for bringing John Sinclair to Hash Bash. John Sinclair had never been to a Hash Bash prior to me bringing him in 1996. John Sinclair had been a lobbyist for NORML in the 70s and had left the marijuana movement shortly thereafter. And for the 25th anniversary or 25th annual Hash Bash, I reached out to John to bring him out. So that was one of my exciting moments because that, of course, has led to a longtime friendship with John and business relationships. So I'm very proud of that. But I would tell you that my favorite memory, I have a bunch of favorite memories. One of the best things I think I ever did at Hash Bash is something we call Pigs in a Blanket. And it's a very well-known photograph of a bunch of everybody sitting down on the diag and a bunch of cops kind of stuck in the crowd and not being able to move. And that came out of the fact that I noticed every year how they were arresting people and that they were using undercovers to walk into the crowd. And then they'd lift their hat in the air and a group of cops would come in and arrest that individual. And when I noticed that, the following year, I asked everybody to sit down, which then immediately caused the cops to not be able to walk through the crowd.
It was the year 2000. I remember.
Yes.
I was there in the year 2000.
And the key about that is that, and I made a big error and I learned from that, as I learned every year doing the event differently. But the one thing I did was I sat everybody down and then I introduced Chuck Ream. And if you know Chuck is famous for writing out his speech. If he's given 3 minutes, he writes out a 3-minute speech and he stands there and reads off his paper and delivers it. And the crowd was just like super mellow, and Chuck doesn't give a super mellow speech. And they were just all sitting around, and he got done with that speech, and he came up to me and he said, if you ever do that again, I'll kick your ass. Because it really just kind of changed the vibe of the event for a minute. But that was one of those things that, you know, you learn each year, and we do different things to mess with the police, and that was one of them. But that was a couple of my memories. As to the other question about, is it becoming too commercial? Is that the question? Because I'll answer the question that was posed. I don't think that's really what you mean, though. I don't think it's becoming commercial at all, because commercial is not the word. It's becoming industry. It's run by the industry. Speakers are all industry related.
Yep. Activism
has taken a back seat. And earlier, earlier it was spoken about politicians. The reason Chuck Green was invited to speak on the Diag many, many years ago is because at the time he was an elected official. My policy was always, if you were an elected official, I would gladly hand you the microphone. I can say for a fact, while we had a gubernatorial candidate and an attorney general candidate appear on the Diag, we will never have a sitting governor or a sitting attorney general appear on the Diag during the annual smoke-in. I can just about bet everything I have on that. And to me, that's one of the biggest problems, is that these people will come for our votes. And when they get elected, as you know, it's politics. So, you know, what politician delivers on everything? Not one. Many try their best, but there are outside factors, one of which becomes our industry. And the fact that the lobbyists are, you know, they represent different factions. And there's a half a dozen different lobbyists that are in Lansing lobbying on behalf of something marijuana related. And they don't all necessarily agree with you and me, or with each other for that matter. But that's what politics is all about. And you have to remember that the only reason Hash Bash became this political event was because the university tried to squash it. And had they not tried to squash it, it would have died out on its own. But because they tried to squash it, it blew up in their face. And, you know, you don't have to like where it is today. You don't have to like what it is today. I tell people that Hash Bash has a bigger persona than its reality. Hash Bash starts at noon on the Diag. If you show up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you walk around downtown Ann Arbor and you smoke weed and you decide to go into some of the shops and do shopping and then grab a meal, you weren't at Hash Bash. In their face. That's not Hash Bash. And I've argued with people for years that, you know, the Monroe Street Fair, while it might be a complimentary event to the Hash Bash, it's not Hash Bash. I get hundreds and hundreds of phone calls. I've probably had 4 phone calls during dinner, people asking if they could get a booth at Hash Bash. A booth. I don't think any of you have been at Hash Bash and saw booths. We used to be able to vend on the Diag. Ed Rosenthal came and sold something like $20,000 worth of books on the Diag. But that was long before the incarnation of what we have now. And once you understand why and how we got to where we're at, why and how the rules are, what they are on the Diag, then you'll understand why I fight the way I do. You know, the university didn't have any rules until they decided to get rid of Hash Bash, and they denied us a permit. Mind you, the permit is for electricity. You're renting electricity from them, and that's how they control the amplified sound. And they denied us a permit, and we were forced to take them to court. At which point the judge said, "What's your Diag use policy?" And they said, "Oh, we don't have one." The judge said, "Well, I'm issuing them their permit, and you better write one." Of course, the next year they had one written, which basically banned everything that had happened on campus for years. There used to be shanties built on the Diag and all kinds of things. as it was the place to protest. But, you know, things have drastically changed on campus. You know, many of you may have heard that the university put out a statement that cannabis or marijuana is, you know, smoking on campus is not allowed, and they won't encourage it and anything like that. I spoke with the Free Press today about that, and, you know, that we kind of laugh about that because the university's made that statement now for the 30-some years I've been involved, and it's never been allowed. But they're too big of pussies to show up and do something about it. They used to come out and arrest a couple hundred people. They don't do that anymore, even though they claim they can. So it's really just they sometimes they show up and try to do their little show of force and, you know, play the game. But the reality is that they basically are there to make sure that there's no problems. And if anybody needs anything, they're there to help. They're not a threat in any way. And, you know, I've argued for years, please ticket me. I've tried to get one of those $5 tickets back in the day. They wouldn't write me one. And then they became 25, and I tried to get one of those. They wouldn't write me one of those. I was on the diag today at noon, smoking copious amounts of weed.
Warming up.
No cops around. So, you know, we may have won the battle on the diag. Now it's really just about, you know, winning the war. I mean, we still have a long way to go. You still can't smoke weed anywhere in public in Michigan. You know, we still have all kinds of legal issues. And that's what Hash Bash is about. You know, it's about basically saying, fuck you to the man. You can pass any law you want. We're going to come out here and we're going to protest. And the way we protest is we light up a joint in public where you tell us we can't. So, you know, for me, it's pretty simple. The fact that this industry has popped up and has become part of this event, well, okay, it is what it is. There are different nuances to this event than any other event in the country because it's an up from the people event. And, you know, we are the people, and we show up and we do what we do. So it's pretty simple. But that's what I got for the moment in response to some of the things I heard.
Sure.
My issue is this. Hash Bash takes place on the diag at high noon on the first Saturday in April. Kind of like the inauguration takes place on January 20th at high noon on the Capitol.
Adam,
and
you mentioned
anything outside of that is not Hash Bash.
You mentioned earlier about John Sinclair's you said he doesn't like the direction Hash Bash has taken. What did you mean by that?
John's I mean, he doesn't understand a lot of this corporate stuff, industry stuff. He for him, it's about getting high and saying fuck you to the man. And, you know, he doesn't care for some of the, you know, industry type aspects of it. He's participates in it. But we all do, sometimes begrudgingly. You know, he's written about it over the years. He's written about, you know, Hash Bash and how it's changed. But you have to remember that John's always been a part of a politicized Hash Bash, not so much that original up from the people type event. You know, he was brought out as a celebrity for Hash Bash. He didn't just come to mingle. So, you know, John, he asks every year, am I going? And, you know, I wouldn't tell him no. That's where he's got to be. It is Hash Bash. But I can tell you this. We knew months ago that we were coming out on the diag, him and I, and that we were going to do whatever we could to be there. So it's, you know, it means a lot to us. If the two of us were sitting there by ourselves, we'd be happy. It's not about crowds. It's not about people. You know, you guys brought up Debbie Dingle. We had a good time talking with Debbie when she was there, and we put a lot of things in her head And it was pretty obvious when she got up and spoke to the people that she was informed. I'm not sure all politicians are informed when they come looking for our vote. I know that we've had a lot of local people and a lot of elected officials over the last 10 years come and speak. And I think Jeff Irwin's the only one that's ever introduced anything. And he's a longtime friend. So, you know, we're hoping for these people. My argument is this. I want to see the people that I know that are involved in the weed game, the people that I know that are involved in these industries, these big corporations, all that. I want to see you people watching and listening to this. I want to see you people run for office, because it's only by you people getting elected that the laws are going to change in our favor. Because right now, nobody's writing any legislation that's going to work in our favor. I'm just saying it's all represented some sort of lobbyist at this point.
Hey, all good. You know, of course, Adam, you have good perspective on that. I just wanted to add Representative Yusuf Rabi to your mention of Senator Irwin. For what positive stuff has gone on, those two guys have been
right. And it's not surprising that those two guys are Ann Arbor guys. And Ann Arbor's been a safe place for many years. And why is it a safe place for many years? Because almost 50 years ago, the Human Rights Commission in Ann Arbor got elected, and those Human Rights Commission were people like you and me, got elected to city council in Ann Arbor, and they put forth the $5 pot fine, and that changed everything in Ann Arbor. So it's because people got involved and made change on the local level that Ann Arbor has turned into what it is. Because you have to remember, Ann Arbor was a conservative farming community where up until World War I, public school was taught in German. It wasn't this liberal college town that we know it and love it today. Yeah, so that's my perspective. I got to bounce for a minute, but I'll call back in a minute if you don't mind.
Sure, sounds good.
I appreciate you guys. I'll be back.
All right. Who wants a turn to answer that question? Anybody else here? Jim, Amanda, Steve? Who's had enough experience? Chad, you got a thought on it? You have to have a few...
Yeah, Chad, let us know.
I mean, listen, Adam represents a position. You know, we may never have gotten a legalization and the incrementation of whatever we're going through right now with that kind of, you know, it may have been, you know, you got to get, to move the ball, you got to have partners, you got to be diplomatic.
It's not that it's...
How are you going to change? Listen, it's such a ridiculous law. In order to do this, you got to make friends with people that you normally wouldn't be. It's diplomacy. It's hard to suck it up, though, because it's a war. You know what I mean? You're fucking antagonistic, and there's a lot of pushback, and especially when you see the brutality that's been handed down, you get upset. You expect more. You expect, but go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think the question is, it's a loaded question, right? I mean, it's not that it's better or worse. It's different.
That's fair.
And I think that just like we were talking earlier, that I really, I have fondness for the way that the industry used to be, and I really don't care for the way it's turning out. But we knew it was going to happen, and we knew that the trade-off would be that people would, by and large, stop getting arrested for marijuana, and that has happened. And
it's a good trade-off.
Yeah, for sure it is.
What is the trade-off? Tell it again.
The trade-off is that community, that underground that we formed, and those bonds, and the old way of doing things is gone. It's mostly gone.
Yeah, it's kind of sad in a way.
But that's what happens when the industry evolves.
And you're right, and we have to change and I guess adapt, and I don't really want to, so I stay on the outskirts.
Yeah. It's bound to happen.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's bound to happen. It's very difficult, even though the cannabis issue, generally speaking, politically, is more of a binding issue. It brings people together from different parties. I think it's more of that than it is antagonistic, or at least it's proven that politically. It's hard for everyone within the community to agree on how it should be done, right? That goes without saying. Jamie, right? It's hard for there to be for everyone to agree on what it should be, and this has been an issue in all the states that have moved the ball forward. There's the issue of incrementalism. You get something, some kind of possession, then we can always come back and fix it, right? That's always been Keith's drop of.
There's an element of we agree what it should be, but how to get there most effectively sometimes causes the stresses.
Sure, distresses and what the expectations may be of the people that there's all of that, right? There's all kinds of different, and it's going to happen in terms of how there's going to be a debate. But I will say this: there was a time, and I just want to. We can kind of wallow in a moment of history here. That's kind of maybe the most unified time of the community at large, which was this. I believe it was the 2015. Talked about this a minute ago. Lame duck session. With all the talk right now about caregivers being, on the chopping block, all the cities now.
That was
after.
that
Wait.
was the
Let me set it.
worst.
DeRuiter and the setting up that cities are now enacting caregivers. There's. I said this earlier, and I was accused of fear mongering, but. The possibility that they're going to legislate out of caregivers, it's always possible. Is that fear-mongering, I guess?
It was
the 2000.
It was 2000.
Right
it was 2014.
I'm saying right now, as we speak today, the cities are banning caregiving, and there's talk of them getting rid of caregivers. Okay, now,
and that's going to continue.
And now in 2014 or 15, it was either 14 or 15.
It was 20. It was 2014.
I thought the next year they became maybe it's
no. It was House Bill 5104.
It was a lame duck
Representative
session.
Eileen Kowal. Introduced in 2013. Lame duck 2014 is when her buddy.
Wait, before we get there, this is during the Jamie's buddy Mike Carlton era.
Yeah, Benedict. Yeah.
Good old
And he was, getting whatever. He was getting whatever he was getting, and he was getting some stuff done. He's talking about big marijuana and whatnot. But what happened was a lot of people, unified behind the principle of that legislation. And let me just repeat for 1 second what it had. So there'd always been the reluctance of changing the MMA into a more commercialized market, right? If you let it just be people's basements and Tupperware parties, and there's no transparency storefronts that were desired in retail. Although it's almost impossible, and none of that happened. Who knows what it would have been and how it would have developed, and whether the police still, you could speculate all day long on that. But now, the cat's out of the bag, and there is the request within this industry, this kind of industry that's evolved in 2012, 13, 14, some unification of lobbying of some kind, where they want to have some bills passed. So there was an actual meeting of the minds, I think, from, I don't know, pretty much. Jamie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but most, if not all, the organizations that were, influencing and kind of helped create the.
It was a great bill.
And the bill was that there would be a retail creation, taxing and regulations, and the supply would come from the
existing supply chain.
Caregivers.
Yeah.
So that was, and everybody agreed about that. Remember that, Jamie?
With that was awesome.
Jamie, do you remember that?
That was Mac. That was actually Mac working with MPP.
God. All right.
Before MPP decided to sell out language for funds. And they would write stuff based on how the locals kind of wanted to see it.
Well, hold on. This is. I mean, I think Robin was real involved at the time. There was, and I think a lot of it came from the Detroit.
Caucus.
Whatever.
That one group.
Whatever. Jamie's trying to take credit, of course. He does get introduced as responsible for everything. So
he was pretty responsible.
That was a distinct,
he was involved.
Part of it. The Michigan Association of Compassion Centers worked with MPP before MPP's changed how they approach language, how they approach making.
But that was 2012. It wasn't Max done in 2012.
I'm telling you what happened. There's why you grilling me on it. I am correct in the fact that Mac worked with MPP. Mac also hired Robin and Kevin McKinney.
But would you
Kevin McKinney
also
and Robin have the distinction of being the only two people that went from start to finish on the legislative process.
Would you agree that it was a good plan to have the existing system fund the dispensaries? Yes or no?
Existing system fund. I don't understand.
The caregivers.
You mean the original system?
Yes, the caregivers fund.
I was
yes or
involved
no?
with starting that system in the state, and when we were creating the original attempt at making a dispensary law, we used that existing functional system as the basis for the language.
Let me paraphrase for him. Let me paraphrase.
Is that a yes
Let me
or no?
paraphrase. No, I'll
Yes?
give you. Let me
No?
summarize.
Yes,
Let me
no?
summarize and paraphrase. My name is Jamie Lowell. I'm responsible for everything, including that.
I mean, here's some more examples tonight. Sorry, I can't help it. It's just objective facts floating in front of our face, and we have to.
There's selective and
MMA in 2008 when it was on the ballot. They would have been in there, and people would have voted for it, and we wouldn't have had any of these problems.
I just want to say selective and subjective.
Well, that's part of the history too, and then the discussion is about, and of course, that was MPP, and they admit to some, misfiring on a lot of stuff, and not realizing how much support there actually was, and they didn't put stuff in certain ways for fear of scaring voters off, but
So then,
those are the
did
kind
you
of
guys
calculations
let
that are
that
made in the
slip
process.
through?
So what you're saying, Jamie, is because you're responsible for all of that.
I'm not saying responsible.
No. Responsible for the MAC bills, right? You want to?
You want to take credit, but
I just want to.
Well, I know I utilize an organization as the basis for that, but
and they adopted your principles. They adopted your spirit and principles in your own,
what we
personal.
had demonstrated physically as a working, functional system. Yeah,
and everyone bought into it. It was a very unifying.
Went without saying, it was working.
What I'm saying is the bills as they were written. And as they were presented to the, oftentimes at odds with each other, community, found this, if there's had to be some commercial market, this was the way that it should be done. I think there was more consensus for that in that moment, in those moments, if you accepted the idea that there was going to be some of that, because it didn't compete with and lead to the destruction of or competition with the caregivers. That caregivers could still caregive.
Right.
They want to be part of the commercial market. They could be.
It was good.
Right. So
which is ironically.
We started getting concerned when they started adding on, some of these, So yeah, of course, caregivers are going to supply, but we're going to add on a couple of larger commercial gardens.
Just to supplement the system.
That's not enough for the whole market, so we're going to have to supplement.
Yeah.
So then it just all, it was a 6-year process, obviously, and it turned into a bunch of shit.
Well, all right. So what I was saying is that was in a lot,
testing wasn't even mandated; it was just allowed for.
I know. What I was saying is, as we speak today, there may be agreement to disagreement about what hash bash is or what it shouldn't be, whether it's become part of the industry or whether it's whatever. But I'm saying. I just wanted to recall, because a lot of what hash bash oftentimes is, it's a gathering of people that support the freedom and liberation of this plant, and the moments that we share, I think, are really and the experiences we have is what is some of the beauty of the plant and what and how we come together as humans. And I was just with all the chaos, especially with the current, weirdness of the commercial market and the concerns. Not fear-mongering caregivers and maybe some disappointments in some areas that should have been better implemented, or stronger wills of policy and issues that were needed, whatever the case may be. I just want to recall back to this time when there was this extreme unification. People were going to parties that they would never go to and supporting candidates that they hated.
Yeah.
Right? They paid their dues to sing the blues, and then. And it had a unify, and just even before the letdown, there was a lot of unification. I was just kind of drawing that out, and then since then,
it's because things weren't going well. That's what unifies people.
No, but that bill, because the concern has always been once you go to the commercial, you're going to cut out the people that have had their neck on the chopping block all these years.
Yeah.
The ones that have been supplying the medical market. Why should they be by doing that? Shouldn't they get the front of the line?
Right.
And that's what that. And then the police got their hands on it, right?
Yeah.
Governor Snyder's like, "Oh, we'll work on it," And
yeah,
then,
they worked on it.
They
sure did.
And they came up with this other thing.
Once again, it's about the lobbyists and who's lobbying who.
Yeah. And I think
to be honest with you, I know the cop don't have no money, but if you lawyer fellas and Jamie threw $1 million each into a pot, that'd be some money, and we could hire some lobbyists, and we could probably get what we wanted. But until somebody throws some money and hires a lobbyist, those specific entities are going to get what they want, just like the cops got what they wanted. Well, it might not have worked out for them in the end, but they certainly had the ear bent to the people who were listening. And I think we've seen that with, some of the lobbyists that we all know and love and some of the work they've gotten done. But real lobbyists make a difference. Grassroots efforts back it up. Knocking on doors, making phone calls, back that up. But the lobbyists, that's how they know it's real.
Who's lobbying for the police?
The police.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Listen,
Oh, it's the police.
Let me say, they have so much influence because, like Adam said, they don't have any money.
Google Sergeant
It's real
Amy
simple.
Denner.
It's unionized labor, and their union makes statements, not necessarily backed up by the people, just like the associations, the Chiefs of Police, the Chiefs of Police Association or the Fire Chiefs Association. They're always anti-weed. They're always anti-personal grow at home. And they have all kinds of talking points if you follow what they say. But if you go ask your local police chief or your local fire chief if he experienced any of these issues, he's going to tell you no. And many times he'll tell you that his association doesn't represent him. And it's those people, those associations, that comes with a lot of clout when you send a letter to a legislator. Then it comes from the Fraternal Order of Police or the Police Chiefs Association or any of that stuff. That comes with a lot of strength. And we all know it doesn't mean anything. But I guarantee you Debbie Dingell doesn't get that.
Well, and I
she's
know
pretty
Dana
smart.
Nessel doesn't get that because...
Dana Nessel doesn't get a lot of things.
Because she refers to the police as her stakeholders.
They are her stakeholders.
That she's there to do. I thought the people of the Michigan were her stakeholders.
So they have inordinate influence in state departments and in the legislature.
Okay, so this is on one of these Planet Green Street episode a while back. I was yelling and screaming about how, like it may have even been after that episode with the lame duck where I said how, because we never finished the story. What happened was Kowal was going to get it voted in the lame duck.
It was going to pass.
And Sheriff
Michael Bouchard called
came
her.
in and made with his gun
No,
holster.
just with a phone call.
Okay,
That's all it took.
but the visual of it, it might as well have been walking in there with a gun, the holster and whatever, that your political career was going to be ruined or whatnot, right? So
there's also some other weird shit surrounding it, like getting gifted some stock in some medical company.
Oh my! Oh, it goes deeper, huh? A little deeper.
Right, because we wouldn't want to think that these government officials and elected officials are doing anything untoward.
So my point was, my takeaway for them was like, how can one individual have that kind of influence and just decimate all this work?
It's not just that influence.
And the consensus. Okay.
Eileen Kowal, the reason she sponsored that bill is because a parent in one of our groups
tell the story.
took her daughter to see her, and her daughter had a seizure on the floor of the representative's office. So I don't know what happened with Eileen Kowal because I wasn't part of that conversation, but whatever caused her to yank that bill, it must have been pretty effing strong, because had I been in her shoes, it would have taken an act of God to stop me from moving forward.
Well, one of the things she said was that she had to go back home, and she went back to be county commissioner after her term ended, as she wanted to avoid
the political ramifications
having
of
pissed off Bouchard in the county.
Right, too powerful. But the point I was making was, how could one person have that? And then and Jeff Irwin was the one that says, he was like, what are you talking about, Komorn? They're involved all the time. They introduce bills all the time.
All the time.
They don't even need a lobbyist.
Right.
That's the problem.
They have one.
Well,
they have more than one that work full time for the Michigan State Police. Every single time we'd be in there lobbying for a bill, we would have Sergeant Amy Denner coming in and talking about how weed was bad and how the Michigan State Police hate weed and we're not going to pass any of these bills. I remember when we were having the butane hash explosions, she was there with her little posse, and they'd come in with the pictures of houses blowing up, and they're good at it, and the lawmakers listen.
She told the committee that cannabis killed somebody in Colorado, and that was based on the story of people remember having an edible and like falling off something or whatever, and then dying because of
a head injury
or something. I would imagine.
Right.
It's the same. You know, it's. You see, this is why it becomes so difficult to accept, like, after what a lot of the community has gone through, that they still have a voice at the table. I mean, when you are spewing those kind of things that are straight out of Reefer Madness, they're lies in your face. They
Michael, it's their
are
table.
Intended to
Their
scare.
table.
And please, they are financially motivated as they are telling you these lies because they spend 40% of all of their resources criminalizing this. So they don't tell you that. Their entire existence is based on that. And here they are objectively
Taking
not
the moral high ground is what they'll tell you.
subjectively, you know, part of this industry that needs these laws to create the industry business that they need to have an existence. I mean, in simple terms, and they're still at the table. They're still at the table, and no one understands that it's a war. Like, they lost the war. It should be over. They don't get to sit at the table and dictate the peace. You know what they did to the Germans during that? They said, there's no peace table. We're bombing the shit out of you. Surrender and be held prisoners and be tried in whatever.
Well,
go ahead.
The problem is these people never surrendered. All they did was stop writing battle plans. Okay, they're no longer at battle. Now they're writing industry standards. And the reality is that when I got involved in this, I got involved in this for the freedoms to open it up, not for the control. I understand how the industry might want or need some control, but those that want to work outside of the industry, there's still a lot to fight for because we are subject to some of this stuff that we're talking about, where law enforcement is still claiming there's an issue with this substance. At the same time, these communities are taking, what, $28,000 a place?
Yeah, you know, Ed, I want to make just one clarification. You know, the industry is not just one term. It's, you know, there's a lot going on within there. I work within the industry, and I also support individuals' rights, not peeling back anything that we've already achieved and moving forward and getting to the point where we would all be happy.
Right, but the industry, the industry has an influence on the system, and its interests are going to be protected by it. It is not going to protect others.
And Jamie, your position may be
there's different factions within the industry.
Of course,
different levels of influences and intentions and things like that.
Not of the industry itself, maybe the individuals. But the industry has to protect itself. We all know that.
And the industry itself is competing with this other market. And it doesn't make economic sense, even objectively speaking, to try to...
There's a huge faction of the industry that doesn't recognize, we say the other market, something that Adam would, you know, with a lot of pride say that he's, you know, very much connected to and working with. There's a lot of people who don't find that to be competition, who realize that the pie is big enough. If they have a central location and they provide a quality product, a fair price with good service, some people are going to want to get their cannabis that way. Some people
correct. And as long as they participate in a taxation system where that money is sent back to the communities and used against people like me.
Right. I mean, I you know, obviously, I don't, you know, I'm not going to.
I mean, yeah, I understand.
Doing that
Listen, Jamie, no disrespect to Steve because he knows I love him dearly, but unlike the police, there are good industry people. Okay, there are good industry people. There are no good police officers. I can explain why if you're interested. But
I'm also saying, I got you, but there's some really shitty industry people that
no. You know what? there are some really shitty business people everywhere. We expected that. What we didn't expect was some of our friends, colleagues, and countrymen to turn against us and look the other direction because now they have a business.
Amen.
Their business and the industry, yes, are very separate. The problem is the industry protects itself as it should. Unfortunately, the industry is set up to go against the black market and to try to stop the black market by any means necessary. And I'm sorry, I see the black market as the originator of all of this.
I don't support
that. It's been perfected over the last 80 years with 40 years of war declared against us. It's not going to go away. So for people to understand that the industry supports law enforcement's trying to rid the black market of existence, it's cut and dry. There's no, you may be against it. That doesn't mean that the tax.
There are some people that are angling for that type of shit. There's no question about it. But I don't agree with the enforcement side of it, the continuation need for raids, or if something can be described as really needing to be addressed.
But
most of the time it can be handled civilly, and that's the type of stuff, if it needs to be addressed, that I would support, not the continuation of the same type of enforcement that continues even though we've legalized cannabis.
However, you would never not pay your tax because you don't agree with how the state's using your tax, right? Because that would cost you your license.
Here's a fact.
So
here's an interesting fact about that, Adam, and it goes to your point about.
Well, the excise is directed to certain things.
Well, here, this is what I learned. The city of Ann Arbor, per the publication of the 2020 fiscal year, received something like $460,000. The city of Ann Arbor. I learned from one of the attorneys within the city attorney's office there that they used those funds. The city earmarked those for covering court expenses and programs for the court. Now, you may think this seems a little weird. Why are they doing this? But one of the reasons why the system is broken, the court system is broken, is because those courts are hurting financially. They don't have a budget that they're operating under. They're expected to get the budget money to run the courts through litigants that are coming before them. The tax dollars that are coming in actually, fill a gap in the budget that they need to function. Maybe not as much, but they need to function, which requires them to go out and arrest more people, get tickets, bring them in, and get bonds and get them to pay, which biases the court. So there's actually, there's a seemingly a payback there that the functionality of these courts can operate with tax revenue in lieu of human revenue.
Well, that's what they're supposed to be operating under, right?
Wait a minute.
They're slated tax dollars.
Hold on. Let me jump in here, though. That is nothing new, Michael. You have to know that when they upped the fine on the $5 civil infraction in Ann Arbor, when it went from $5, which admittedly was the laughing stock of the nation at the time, they raised it to $25 because they were embarrassed by their $5 fine. At the same time, the court instituted a $25 court fee on that $25 civil infraction. And that was back in the 90s, long before any legalization and tax revenue and anything. The courts were taxing civil infraction tickets and literally doubling the cost of that $25 civil infraction for smoking or possessing weed under an ounce in public in Ann Arbor. So this is nothing new. These people have been doing this for years. Don't forget, the great state of Michigan convinced its people to vote for the lottery because they were going to take the funds raised by the lottery and fund the schools. What they didn't tell you was that they were going to remove that expenditure from the general budget. So all they did was play a shell game with the money. And that's what these people have been doing forever. We tried to, at one point there was a concept of pot for potholes. And people said, oh no, we could never make that happen. Now they can't make it happen because they've tied their hands, and now the local communities are using money for all kinds of goofy things. Some of which is a good thing. I won't put everybody down. But why are we paying for court
Why is marijuana paying for court programs that have nothing to do with marijuana?
Well, it's a revenue to the. See, to me, that's a good question, but to me, it stands out as this. I mean, it's been documented that these local municipalities cannot manage themselves. They are broken governments that don't have the revenue to run a yearly annual fiscal year. So the reports from the court, which actually it's interesting, Adam, because the idea that you just mentioned, where the $25 civil infraction fine, they charge you some other court cause shit at the court, is what started this whole thing. Like, that is the example, that's the birth, that's the first organism back then of the court getting a little extra for the till, you know?
Right.
Judge needs a retirement party, whatever. I mean, they did all of that, the checks and balances moving along until they, there's the main case that started this entire analysis of how biased the district courts are because they are relying so heavily on the litigants' money to pay the light bills at the court that nobody should expect fairness from these judges. They're too biased in the outcome, needing to be causing costs to be paid. So that your example of the extra $25 has been part of it, and the reports that have been made by the state of Michigan that these systems are broken and it's unfair, they have no solutions other than to say it's broken. I mean, they make recommendations, but getting other dollars into the hands of the courts so they can function without needing to go out and arrest people. See what I'm saying? If it's flowing anyways, because they're not getting any dollars from anywhere else. What happened was you have a government that's set up on a budget if they need $100,000 a year, and everyone leaves town. There's no tax revenue from the real estate. There's no, they get a little bit. They don't get sales tax that goes to the state.
What to happen when you let the courts keep the money? It turns it into a business.
Well, I'm saying, give them a budget. There's no money that goes to their budget. The cities don't have enough revenue to pay the overhead. They have to get it from a arrest team.
Maybe the courts should lay some people off.
Well, I'm saying it's the example of the worst management of government ever. They don't need all of that. But I would rather it be made from legal sales of marijuana and tax dollars than from... And this is against my business of what I do. People getting charged to go to court. There should be less of it. And it shouldn't be needed as much. In fact, all of the recommendations of the criminal justice reform are to do things like give warnings, no cash bail. These are the laws of the land. Release people.
When you read the text and it talks about any reasonable reason or whatever that the police officer can come up with on why you should be arrested, even though you're not supposed to be. That's the kind of shit they pull. How many police officers do you think are not going to come in and say, well, no, they need to go to jail?
We should do a show. Alan, are you still on? Alan, we should do a show discussing some of the new nuances of this entire new reform bill that involves things like being released on a ticket instead of the normal... like a drunk driving, even a drunk driving
appearance ticket,
high BAC, like over 1.7, could result in you not having to spend the night. I don't know how they're going to do that, but
that's also not going to happen. The reasonable reason is going to be the police officer saying if we let them go in this state, they're a danger to themselves.
It's new
and others.
legislation, though. There's going to be lawsuits.
Right.
It's actually like a marijuana arrest, an impairment for marijuana arrest. There's no way they should be staying the night. It's got to be a dangerous misdemeanor. Is the language? Alan, you with me on that?
I don't think so.
Yes.
I'm bringing up the law.
We should do a show on this in a couple weeks. What?
We have actually a bunch of new laws that took effect today, and I posted them both to the Safer Michigan listserv as well as a few others. So
Well, once again, April 1st, a popular day for new laws.
Well, when you...
yeah, I know. Well, some of them took effect March 23rd. And a bunch of them took effect today. Including the most important one, I think, is if a person does test dirty on probation, it's no longer a bench warrant. It's a technical violation. They get an appearance ticket. They have a year to appear and explain it.
Wow.
One of the things I'd like to talk to mention about these courts that I don't seem to understand is the luxuriousness of them.
Oh, they're beautiful, aren't they?
I don't understand why, and again, I have the utmost respect for the lawyers on this broadcast, but why do you need to work in front of covered walls?
Listen,
what is it?
The question is this: why, in some broken down community, is the biggest building, the biggest building, and the most expensive, that the most resources go into, and the most energy? It's like the temple of, King David's temple of the town. It's where all the activity goes on in the center of it, and they're all, reeling it in and taking it there. How could that be? Well, they get a millage because it is a source of getting revenue to pay for the city services. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, the city of Warren did it right.
District court's like a cash register, man.
But
And if you want to see that taken to the extreme, take a walk through the United States Capitol building, which is built of marble. Mainly.
Well, of course.
Mainly
but that's
built.
There's one of those. There's courthouses all over America that are more gorgeous and more luxurious than any home any of us have ever lived in.
Yes,
you are correct.
They're the best. They're the most recent new builds, new construction.
Right.
I mean,
I have no problem with the White House and the Capitol and the federal monuments being what they are. But for the federal courthouses, even around the state of Michigan, to be these luxurious places they are, and I have an uncle who's a related uncle who's a federal judge. The man has a gorgeous courtroom. Okay, gorgeous. It's fascinating that the money is spent. I mean, it's absolutely amazing the money that is spent. And you know what? We are not a better society because these people work in these temples. I didn't feel any better going to prison because it was a nice courtroom, or any worse because maybe the judge's hair wasn't done right. I mean, I didn't give a fuck. I was going to prison, man. My question is, who cares? Is it really the judges that get this budget and get to make these decisions, or the court administrators? Because these courts, criminal courts specifically, that doesn't impact society in one way, shape, or form. If you're telling me that I'm going to get a better judicial response because the judge sits in a beautiful courtroom, I have a hard time believing that. And I've never understood that.
What happens, I think, Adam, at the end of the day, is there's a prospectus business plan that's put together that says we're going to build this courthouse and people are going to come here and they're going to pay money because we're going to have a police force and we're going to do it efficiently. We need 3 courts and we need these judges and we need to have the jail over here.
Department.
Yeah. So it's in no approval for any building, approved by any city council was not done considering the numbers. Whether they're getting it directly from the city, and they're going to tell you what the payoff is, and by having this court, we'll be able to bring this much more money in, or get this many more officers to give these many tickets. It's that, and this is not just my own complaint. I'm not making this up. I'm not saying it based on 28 years of practicing law. The Michigan Supreme Court, through its trial funding commission report, found that the district courts budget is supplied by 70% of the revenue comes from their litigants, and that's completely unfair. It is a classic example of the terrible government management. They can't get revenue from any other place, and they've got all these people working there in these positions established, and they can't raise enough money from the tax base, which is essentially real estate and commercial properties or whatever, because they can't create new taxes. They don't get sales tax. City of Royal Oak's got restaurants. They started doing a bunch of that stuff. They don't get any of that.
Well,
that's all sales tax. What they do is they got police officers sitting outside arresting people.
Waiting for the drums.
Yeah, that's what they do. They've been left to that.
They should learn how to operate with the confines of the tax dollars that are geared towards them.
You know, wait,
Period.
I will say this.
Period. And anything else that comes in is gravy, but they shouldn't be operating a day-to-day, year-to-year budget based on the fines and costs that come in. They should be operating that courthouse, that public facility, that government operation with the tax dollars that are allocated for them only. I don't care if the cops are getting them busy and they got to hire more people. Well, if that's the case, you do. But if you got to lay them off, you got to lay them off. If you're going to run it like a business, then run it like a business. And when you got to lay people off, sometimes you got to lay people off if business isn't good.
Steve, don't forget, the only reason they're able to run it the way they do now is because we, as the defendant, most of the time, capitulate. If more people went to trial, the system would collapse on itself. It would crumble. It would, just like the hospital system did under the coronavirus. These court systems would, if everybody demanded the jury trial that they're entitled to.
Absolutely, and everybody should.
The conviction rate would drop.
Oh, drop immensely.
So I appreciate what defense attorneys do because they advise us to plead out when it's the smart thing to do. But the reality is you're never going to make change doing shit like that.
No, you're not. And the system just keeps trucking along. And we need more people fighting stuff and taking to trial. Everybody should take their case to trial.
One of the best things that happened to the criminal justice system in the last 12 months, anybody?
Is the court shut down?
COVID-19, my friend. I know people who have been released from prison who would have never gotten out under the system we had. Just never. They'd have done every day of their time, especially in Michigan where you have no good time. And the society realized, you know what? Maybe these people don't need to be locked in a cage. Maybe we don't need to spend $20,000, $30,000 a year to keep these people locked in a cage. Maybe we can force some of them to pay for their tether and put them at home.
Teresa Brennan got out after 2 months. She was supposed to serve 6 months, but they let out Teresa Brennan after 2 months because of COVID-19.
Okay, at least they put her through the system and she had to squat and cough. That's all I care about. I mean, okay, listen. The criminal justice system in our country is very different than others. We are so punitive and it's just not right. It's not sane. But maybe criminal justice reform, prison reform is about to happen. There might be some silver linings to this. And the reality is the times are changing. And I don't think that unless you hurt people, you need to be locked in a cage. And if you do hurt people, maybe you shouldn't be let out. Pretty simple.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Oh, you got to get caught and convicted too, by the way. I mean, I'm not just locking people up because they hurt somebody.
Right.
I say this. I was. I'm still trying to make my point before that last conversation, but the court systems are so broken. How broken are they? I don't know that every single city or any city for that matter has a budget for the court system. They may have a budget for the police department, right, in advance. but the court budget is not something that's legislatively given. I think they rely on the court to create the revenue to fund themselves and other aspects of the local legislative body. I use this one example. I have a friend who's a lawyer judge, and he says I'm telling him how broken. He's like, that's insane. This city has a budget for the court, and we use it. We hire and fire, and that's it. Now, this is a city that is unique in the state of Michigan, maybe even the country, that it still has property value. It's a park and a village and a woods park, Grosse Pointe areas, right? That is a unique environment. There's, to be as stereotyped as possible, there's old money that's there, right? There's property values stayed there. They have a constant tax base that's producing dollars for the cities, so they have that, and that's part of the budget, and they give the budget to the court. I don't know. Think about at a time when cities stopped having that kind of stability. It's been years. You know what I mean? Steve, you know what I'm saying? So at some point in time, I don't know, 50s, 40s, maybe like every industrial town up and down the state of Michigan had full employment. People were living in homes, buying their homes, paying real estate taxes. And that was a world where it wasn't too much. It wasn't not, it wasn't something that was being overdone. And they budgeted the dollars. It was given to the police force, it was given to the courts, and that was it. Then all of a sudden that stopped happening. People started losing their jobs, factories going overseas, and voids of these industrial pockets throughout the state are just nothing. People are leaving their houses, foreclosures, the city's not getting their tax dollars. They're getting sold. The depreciation goes down. The SUV values less and less and less and less out of that pool of resources. Yet the same number of people live there. They have the same number of police needed, and they have no other resources to get the money. So this has been, it's an example of bad. What do you do? You create a industrial complex associated with legal and illegal activity, and monetize the shit out of it. I mean, that's the only example. I mean, there's a master plan somewhere. There's some, maybe it's a private prison system. It starts here. Maybe it's those, there's a couple of those, what is it, ALEC or something like that. They used to introduce all this conservative legislation to kind of drive the ball. I mean, I'm telling you, it is a mindset of, bad thinking people that are, solving governmental economic crisis with the worst solutions that you could think of. All right, that's enough. Who else wants to talk? Finish it off.
Shut it down.
Jamie Allen. Fine.
Shut it down.
Fine. All right, so listen, we'll see everybody on Hash Bash. Everyone be safe.
All right.
We're hashing and bashing.
See you down there, Adam.
High noon.
I'll be
See you
there.
down there.
I knew.
I'll see you there, Adam.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Jeff,
Appreciate
Frazier,
y'all.
Chad, thank you. Adam, love you guys. Take care. Jamie, Jamie, take care, baby.
Shut it down.
Take care, baby.
Saturday,
Jimmy.
Adam.
The Planet Green Trees Show.
Join the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association today, michiganmedicalmarijuana.org. The MMMA is focused on the well-being and safety of medical marijuana patients. The MMMA site provides the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on legal issues, politics, research, cultivation, as well as the various strange products and methods of cannabis use. Come join the discussion with the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates in Michigan today, michiganmedicalmarijuana.org.
Before you plead, call me, Attorney Michael Komorn.
important and historical farm crop in American agriculture is returned after having been classified as a controlled substance and illegal. On December 20th, 2018, the President signed the Farm Bill, also known as the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, into law. The signing of the act was great news for the hemp industry, which amended the definition of marijuana in the Federal Controlled Substances Act. Hemp is now defined as the plant, Cannabis sativa L, and any part of the plant, growing or not, with less than 0.3% THC concentration on a dry basis. The plant itself is no longer a controlled substance. Hemp is one of the most versatile plants on earth. From clothing, fiber, paper, building materials, hempcrete, biofuels, CBD, and medical uses, it has been a part of America's industry for over 200 years. Even the United States Constitution was drafted on hemp paper. The time is now. If you're thinking of getting in the farming or processing of hemp, contact our global experts, legal, and consultation teams to make sure that you're on the right road when you venture into the new hemp industrial revolution. Michigan Hemp Industries has been a leader and advocate for the return of the hemp industry, so come be a part of the new revolution in agriculture in Michigan.